I had to rewatch it 3 times because it was so unbelievable to see. But yes, Mark Carney, in the introduction to his rollout of the budget coming on November 4th, that most people think is going to see Canada with at least $100 billion deficit. We're in so much financial trouble due to these green initiatives. Mark Carney came out and he stated that Canadians needed to be ready to pull themselves up by their bootstraps and suffer. Are you kidding me? Are you effing kidding me? This coming from the guy who has been one of the lead architects of Canada's destruction, of our economic destruction via 2 main weapons. 1, immigration. 2, these green initiatives. These are by far the 2 biggest variables that have played a massive role in the disastrous Canadian economy. We live on the 2nd largest landmass in the world. We have the most incredible natural resources in the world, yet our economy consistently stagnates behind our G7 competitors. 7.1% unemployment rate. Real world unemployment rate in Canada is probably closer to 10 or 11% when you include the people who've dropped out of the workforce. 22% youth unemployment rate among males. That's unheard of in a developed country, and it's 100%. The 2 strongest correlations can be drawn between our immigration policy, where we have 1.9 million people in 2025 alone on the temporary immigration work program, which doesn't even have to fill out a WFA. You don't even have to justify why you have to hire one of these people instead of a Canadian. And we have 1.9 million temporary workers on, not to mention the temporary foreign workers program, which has another over 300,000 people on in 2025 alone, as well as student foreign workers, which is over 600,000. This with a 22% youth male unemployment rate. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine how sold out you have to be in order to invite, still in 2025, 1.5 million more people in the country when we have the unemployment rates that we have in Canada? This is a direct result of Carney and the Liberal policies of unfettered immigration. Up until about 15 years ago, it was not debated. Bringing in mass immigration to your country undoubtedly hit the natives economically. This was never up for debate. Liberals would argue. You can see Bernie Sanders, Justin Trudeau, even Mark Carney. Yes, Mark Carney in 2014 stating how bringing in mass immigration hurts your native population economically. They all agreed to it. Then they got their marching orders from the WF Davos, Brookfield Asset Management, and all of a sudden, oh no, immigration is fantastic, except for everybody that you're selling out in your middle and lower class. So Carney has been championing this unfettered, unlimited immigration, which has done the most damage of anything to our economy. And he's also championed all of these green initiatives that see Canada unable to export our LNG, our liquefied natural gas, despite the fact that Olaf Scholz in Germany, Japan, Xi Jinping in China, they're begging us for our LNG, yet we refuse to send it out to them, despite the fact that it's 50% cleaner than the coal that's being used. Oh, by the way, Canada's only accounts for 1.5 to 2% of all emissions in the world. China is accountable for about 33%. So if we actually cared about making an impact on the environment, it does nothing. It's negligible. The impact, 1.5 to 2% of all the world's CO2 is pumped out by Canada. We would be sending our LNG to China if we want to actually make a difference. They're about 1/3 of the world's emissions. But no, because Mark Carney and his buddies can't get rich off of that. If you look at since Mark Carney's become Prime Minister, his investments in Brookfield Asset Management, which, by the way, what a coincidence, he happened to lie about when in the run-up to the election, he said all he had was real estate and personal cash. Turns out he was invested in over 570 companies, 90% of which were in the United States. So-called loyal Canadian, what a goddamn joke. But you look at all of Carney's green energy companies and Brookfield Asset Management, they're up like crazy. They're up 70%, they're up 80%. So Carney is not actually some sort of a green warrior. Give me a break. He's a green warrior to make himself rich. There's him on these secret recordings talking about how these green initiatives are fantastic for their pocketbooks, and that's what Carney's actually looking out for. He knows this whole climate thing is a scam. Canada's only 1.5 to 2% of emissions, and we are crushing our local economy. We're crushing middle and lower class Canadians when we are such a small dent. If China doesn't slow down on their emissions, it makes no difference what Canada does, yet he refuses to export LNG. He refuses to export oil because he can't directly profit off it. It is sick. And now this man has the gall. Like I said, I had to rewatch this 3 times because I could not even believe what I was hearing. He said that Canadians had to be ready to pull up their bootstraps. Are you effing kidding me? Have you been? Well, you know what? Actually, he hasn't been around the past 10 years because he hasn't even lived his adult life in Canada. This is how pathetic we are. We elect a prime minister who spent his entire adult life outside of Canada. What do you think Canadians have been doing? Are you keeping track of what's going on in our economy? Are you keeping track of what's going on in our cities? Are you keeping track of what's going on with the anarcho-tyrannical policies that have been enacted under Justin Trudeau, where criminals are allowed to roam free and law-abiding citizens are now being locked up under the most Orwellian speech laws, Bill C-8, Bill C-9 that I've ever seen? We've been pulling our bootstraps up. The Canadian situation continues to get more and more dire every year with these insane immigration and green policies that Justin Trudeau first brought to the table. And now Mark Carney is doing the exact same thing. He wants to bring another 1.5 million people into the country in 2025. Can you imagine that? Canada has never been more anti-immigration than it is now. People are fed up. They're sick of walking into every single restaurant. It's all foreigners. Well, the youth male unemployment rate is 1 in 4 don't have a job. Why is it all foreigners working at every single fast food restaurant? It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. It's so obvious that Canadians are being sold out every which way by these global elitists like Mark Carney, Justin Trudeau, who, by the way, is now dating Katy Perry. That doesn't tell you he's a narcissistic sociopath. Nothing will. These guys who sell us out time after time, and then they have the gall to go in front of TV cameras. Mark Carney, who jets around the world, who lied about his net worth, who's made tens of millions of dollars on these green initiatives that have crushed regular everyday Canadians, particularly in Alberta, Saskatchewan, in our prairie provinces. He has the gall to go out in front of these Canadians and say, you need to be ready to pull your bootstraps up. Are you effing kidding me? What a sick, sick man. What a sick man. He reminds me of Mr. Burns from The Simpsons. Maybe even more evil. The way you can tell he sneers at everyday Canadians. He thinks he's so much better than everybody. And also just his affect, the way he speaks. You can just tell the telltale signs of a compulsive liar is exactly what Mark Carney is. But if this doesn't get Canadians risen up and ready to say, you're about to introduce a budget with $100 billion deficit, you're making money hand over fist. Brookfield Asset Management is up over 45% since you were elected. You're nakedly jet setting around the world to make profit for yourself, meeting individual private business leaders, not spending any time in Canada like the same thing he's done before. He's always all over the place. He's never in goddamn Canada. Maybe that's why he doesn't realize the country's falling apart. I live 3 blocks east of the Parliament building, and there's crackheads all over the place. But if anybody has to pull your bootstraps up, it's you, you clown ass. Give me a break. Don't lecture everyday Canadians on pulling their bootstraps up. This man is truly pathetic, and he needs to be thrown out of office ASAP. Please like, share, subscribe, join, become a member, donate, grab some gear. Really appreciate everybody who supports. Thanks so much. We need to get rid of this creep, Mark Carney.